Page Elements, Week 2 lecture. Lists. You can create lists on your page that will automatically add the number or bullet. A numbered list is called an ordered list, and the tag is OL. Your list items will use the tag LI, such as in the example. You'll enclose the ordered list in opening and closing tags. Each list item gets the LI and the /LI at the end. This code would produce the result shown on the right. The default type is a numbered list, but you can change the letters to Roman numerals with the type attribute. Inside your opening tag, place the type attribute with the value you want in quotes, like OL type equal the letter capital A or lowercase a, and so on. If you prefer to use bullets, that's called an unordered list, which uses the tag UL, which we'll look at on the next slide. You can also nest lists within lists. Most browsers will automatically indent the inner list and give unordered list a different style bullet. Ordered lists can be nested as well, but you will need to specify the type on each. Those are useful for outlines and tables of contents. As we mentioned, if you prefer to use bullets, that is called an unordered list, which uses the tag lowercase ul. You can also nest lists within lists, as mentioned before. In the case of an unordered list, the bullet type will change for the sub-items. Third type of list is a description list, or DL. This is used frequently for things such as shown in the example. If you have particular things that need a definition or explanation, then you offset the description below the heading. You can add formatting to these as well using your CSS. In this sort of list, you don't use the LI, but rather a DT, lowercase. The font in this slide wouldn't give me lowercase. As you can see from the code, each item and description is included, and the result is shown on the right. Images, as you may remember, are empty elements because they have no content and no closing tag. Some empty element tags can have attributes within them. Therefore, some people prefer to call them one-sided tags. You may hear both terms used. One such emptied element that can have a lot inside the tag is an image element. They look like this first example. Image source equal file name dot file type, alt text, height value, and width value. The alt text, or alternate text, is used in browsers for the blind, so they know what's in the picture. A screen reader would read the alt text and read that to the person. It may also display on standard browsers as a placeholder. If for some reason the page is loading slowly, your connection is slow, you'll see the words rather than the image. Height and width are optional, but are often included so web browsers can control the size of the image. And in many of your designs, you'll want to do that. At the very minimum, you can set the height or width, and the other will remain in what they call aspect ratio to the original size. So if you had a image that is 100 by 50, if you just set the height as 100, the width would remain in the same ratio. In the second example, you can see an actual image link where I've added the name image JPG. The alt text is this text displays when a user hovers over the image. The height is set for 250 pixels and the width at 500 pixels. And we'll be talking about units of measure later. External style sheets are files that tell the browser how our pages should look. These are your CSS style sheets that you create. If they are done with CSS, it will look similar to the first example. The link href equal file name.css, make sure they match. Rel equal style sheet. If you add a folder name, like many times you'll sort your folders and types of files in your web space. If you have like an images folder or a styles folder, you would add that to the file name, so it would be styles / file name.css. Remember that HTML focuses on content, while CSS focuses on the style, and we'll be creating our own style sheets as we go. To link to a JavaScript file, use script source equal file name.js with the opening and closing arrows. The type attribute is also no longer required for the JavaScript links. At one point, you would have to put that like type / whatever file type you're working with. We won't necessarily be using it in this course, but in IS306, we'll cover more on JavaScript. But in some cases, your exercise codes may show JavaScript links such as this, so be sure to pay attention. We'll talk about more semantics. Semantic elements or semantics refers to elements that are written in such a way that the common user would understand them. Strong equals bold, M equals italic, abbreviation or ABBR equals abbreviation, or cite is equal to citation, and there are many more of these that you can use. Overall, it's a good way to make HTML more accessible and easier to understand. There's no guessing about what was intended. Again, when someone with visual problems looks at a web page, they use a screen reader. The screen reader would understand that strong is bold, which means the word is important. M, which stands for emphasis, or which appear as italics, and lets the reader know that the words that are emphasized are important. With all the heights and widths, it is good to use units of measure. As we saw before, we used pixel. You can also use inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, so pica, and so on. Absolute measures are the same size on every screen, and that's something to keep in mind when you're using fluid design. Sometimes you won't want to be specific so that the page will resize. In most cases, times in which you'll use absolute units of measure would be with like a printable version of a page. You'll notice that in many cases there are a lot of special characters in the markup, and you can visit this website to see some of the many characters available and the code needed to show them. If you wanted to use like a left arrow in your text, but there's always a problem with worrying about the browser reading it as part of a code line. In that case, you could use ampersand, pound sign, 60, or ampersand LT, which means less than, and is sometimes easier to remember. Be sure to check out the link for more.